So I go through the day. And there's tasks I perform and words I speak. These actions are very obvious. Anyone can see them through the physical eye. But the actions I perform that may not seem so obvious, but have a far greater impact. The thoughts I think, the feelings I harbor, the attitudes I hold, and the vision I have. Our eyes are incredibly powerful. It is two-way communication. I might see things on the outside and they affect how I think and feel, or how I feel inside can be expressed outwards through the eyes. So like so it's going to so the so communication is extremely powerful. The state of the eye itself so it's secure, discontent, anxious or frightened, how I see dating, very damaging. Self-respect and content, hopeful, optimistic, patient, this becomes beautiful, can even create and protect the goodness of the self. Let me pay at least equal attention to these quiet forms of communication as I move through the day. Om Shanti. I'm Shanti, going to introduce the Raj Yogi. Tonight's session is purity, needed to have pure vision. And so originally, actually, we were going to have the topic purity that's required for self-transformation. However, I feel it was absolutely not connected. So this was the topic for this morning's class for students. And Sister Judy, you're sharing during the meditation commentary of really keeping the inner environment clean. But I was just wondering if there is any sort of inner prerequisite required, even just to be able to do that. I was just thinking about where does soul consciousness play? Because what does that even mean? Is it just a thinking? Is it a feeling? Like, it's how do I make sure that I'm not laboring trying to transform how I'm thinking and seeing inside? Oh, Shanti. I wonder if the first thing is to even feel this is important to recognize that it's something that's important. Just before coming, seeing someone's post about physical transformation, and it's not this obviously it's something that's to the person and reason is to increase the value of the self. So if I can connect to that, this pure vision is very important to increase the value of the self. Then be in fact, I think it'd be much easier to embrace the method if I already have that interest. So first, to understand that this is very, very important to do. In its unique regime, and I didn't mean that in terms of insulting those who are not studying Raju, because to have that kind of pure inner world, I feel it really matters to a lot. So, and then of course, as you mentioned, is it so clear in one's awareness of keeping that importance? I was very touched from this weekend, and again for regular students, just the motivation, the momentum, the determination to be able to keep that. But I guess I was thinking of something maybe you've mentioned quite a while ago when I was younger in the study, that an experience of my real self, a pure sense of myself, is a really important part of being able to transform just even how we think and see and feel. So, he's talking so, so, so doesn't true on some values. It's temperament. So, this something's purity is the foundation. Purity is something so spiritual vision. Is it that it's like being exposed or just experiencing something, and it's not thinking, but experiencing something that's so fulfilling, which is, of course, your sense of value, that you become sensitive to that which can dishonor it? It's our sensitivities or some that we think two things do something to be outside. So, whereas actually it's simply to be applied to the self. Um, to tension, to some dignity, um, this conversation itself, because we're talking about the activity I perform, consequences of that activity. So what happens when, of course, it's a learning curve for yoga, a learning curve for self consciousness, and I'm not really having that real deep sense of value. Is it that I can try to have just very elevated feelings for others and for myself, but what are some signs that perhaps maybe I'm off and trying to aim to have that kind of really pure inner will, pure vision for thoughts for self and others? So, to describe Rajyoga as easy, and different. So some say it's difficult, but it's actually easy. And this is a key summary track. um, trying to some um, so to try to just tree, okay, that's right, that's right. To of course pay attention to that, but it would become really much easier if I address the seed, which is the self-respect, a very pure feelings towards myself. If I don't have pure feelings towards myself, I'm not sure how it's going to happen towards anything out there. I can only give what I've got. So to the seed is that pure, we can be taught pure feelings for the self, and that's the practice of self-consciousness. So a part of this is this, you mentioned the sign of you versus, it becomes very easy. Is there also a difference in terms of whether that becomes my permanent nature versus just something I'm just doing, something I could do perhaps? So there's two things that are suggested in the study. Centaur, which is pure. So, some natural state that actually unnatural. So it's very reassuring and suggests that constant and something I won't have to pay a lot of attention to as I understood. But the other that chunk it's got some habit, some scars, some I'm very careful. So it's usually something that's original. So just listening to shows, thinking of students of Rajyoga who was there during the September 11th when trade centers were collapsing. And so he's been studying for a long, long time. And he was sharing that, he was going to the stairs, helping individuals come down the stairs. He said, I wasn't really actually thinking about God. I wasn't really actually, you know, deliberately thinking about being a soul, but something else was happening. I believe he was quite light and just very simple in terms of being very cool and calm. So just back to this aspect of natural, is that what maybe ends up happening? Because I often hear in the study that in terms of a chart of how many minutes of soul consciousness we have for regular students, it's still quite low. So what to do? Something's in nature that doesn't require conscious input. Um, Accident. Um, see, just quite see. epileptic seizure that happened. This was the soul's first epileptic seizure that happened in history, so it was very confusing for them. And these kinds of altered consciousness incidents, the inside secret is called lifeguards, called the lifeguards. This happened to be just outside the aquatic zone, so we saw it and came to respond. Came to respond. The reason we do it is because to practice their skills at least once a week. Is it going to be natural? Found it interesting as the communication between it's actually doing. And so I'm just communicating. Question, so just going back and forth. To accomplish some like competent in this crisis. And so I had to deal with it now because I was dealing. She was actually extremely anxious. Like she conscious now. She stuff to see in services so much I just felt despite it's actually stopped going because it's so true. So it's 2000 to do constant training. So sounds attention. So so it surprises us sometimes how it comes out. It surprises because if we're doing so in terms of just old habits, it could also be an experience of spirituality and how to override that. There are many who come here, they hear the word meditation, and they have different attitudes. All of us, come from different walks of life, different in the study. We also have an understanding that we have previous births. So how to start to have a love for this relationship of practicing, of especially if there's a lot of perhaps maybe negative experiences that one has had. It does seem to just come to experiences. So it just depends on the experience I've had around that. So to come, somebody's go back. So have a good experience until such time as they have a good experience. I actually want to continue from recently. I showed some of this sense of compulsion or obligation or guilt, but it's not something. So until such time as I have some like about such as this is again it's beyond just wounds that actually focus on obligation. And so the soul would come consciously, intellectually with certain ideas, but the heart may be touched by the vibration. So to continue the intellectual conscious sound is kind of pulling. So it can take some time to, but if it's a good vibration, it touches the heart, it touches the soul, that will start to put a tone vibration because I started thinking about that as well, just listening to you share. And I was wondering, can someone who's studying Raja Yoga and really genuinely even having to show that their vibration can be such that others in their company also are pulled to have very pure feelings, not necessarily, just to have that kind of outlook or also that way of being and that kind of character. It's a sort of experience. It's just so to, but it's sometimes so she wasn't causing it specific situations I've had. And that used to be so such it's and it's been some so she, she So of course we started late and because we had IT, it's like usual. But it was so fascinating. We were talking about she really able to see and how that affected things and that was a lot in terms of the last couple of days that what we see informs a lot. Maybe we don't even realize we have a dialogue inside because ironically I was in clinic today, but the doctor decided that I'll stay outside of the room. So I'm listening to the entire assessment by phone. So I don't actually even see this individual. I just saw her, her face. But it was really interesting that by the time I went in to see the soul, there was just such, I don't know, beautiful feelings. I was just very surprised, maybe because of my soul conscious practice earlier in the day. But the reason that my question was perhaps we take for granted how much dialogue that actually happens and feedback through our eyes without us being able to be aware. And so, my question about when you talked about much earlier in tonight's session about really that this needs to be so important, would that help me to pay attention that's going on and what do I do about it? We don't want to poke our eyes out. So, and the practice of soul consciousness is already a learning curve. System is super, super. So, so much fun. So it's not that we become souls because we say on us and so, so this capacity is always the this is so can actually I think it capacity just so it can limit so from presenting capacity is always which is consciousness of capacity can be stirred and become it's not just here. It's not just it's not extreme, but it's a constant of existing subconsciousness to activate can release the greatness of the human spirit. Sorry, last question because it feels like about being natural. So at the end, it's just having very natural feelings. Because I sometimes hear souls say, I see a point of light in the center of the forehead. I'm not really sure if that really evokes those types of feelings. And I'm asking only because souls are trying to have this translate into something natural. Of course, such discrete entity diffuse all over the place. And it's important. Okay. So, so just see. System change definitely so well in terms of practical, in terms of transforming myself and my vision. So perhaps we'll have a little reflection. Some I'll see what solutions, challenges. See Thank you for joining with us. So, in terms of upcoming sessions, we do have a Learn About Meditation. That's not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, September 20th, at the Academy, 12:15 to 1:30. We also have, for those who've joined for Inner Freedom, and even if you didn't, then if you're really interested in Raja Yoga or just this introduction to soul consciousness, we have a very general but hopefully accessible session happening this Sunday, September 14th at the Central Memorial Library. Central Library. Central Library. Yes, it's the one, the new one that's at the heart of downtown. And so that's September 14th. I believe it's 2 o'clock to 3:30. Yes. So please visit the website. It'd be lovely if you could register. If not, you can drop in, but it'd be lovely to register just so we make sure that we have enough for capacity. And there's a lot of other sessions that are on the website. We're trying to introduce a lot more Raja Yoga courses as well in Hindi as well as in English. So please visit the website. And if you have any questions, you can also find our email address on there. You can reach out to us. Thank you for joining. Om Shanti.